Hi guys, Buildzoid here. Progress update on the Rampage 6 Apex. The board is not coming back. I can tell you right now there is no way I'm getting this board back to life because, like I should have done a full teardown. I should have taken off the chipset heatsink a lot earlier. Because if I had taken off the chipset heatsink a lot earlier, I would have noticed that these O-rings right here are kind of melted. Also, let's get some extra light here. Oh. Ta-da. There we go, much better. Yeah, so you can see that these O-rings, they look like somebody went at them with a heat gun. Probably because some idiot that had the board before me decided to try reflow the chipset. Or even, completely swap out the chipset. Like, either of which is the wrong diagnosis for the motherboard because, yeah, like, basically, like, it's... Here's the thing. I wasn't the first person to work on this motherboard because I didn't do this. This was there before I started working on it. But from what I've heard about the Rampage 6 Apex from multiple people who have had Rampage 6 Apexes, they tend to blow up their V-Core VRM because it's just not big enough for like the 18 core and the 16 core. Well, really everything above the 12 core. Like the VRM on this is just a little bit too small for that. And so, with all probability, the VRM was literally the only thing that was ever wrong with this board. And then somewhere, because you know what would make me super annoyed is like there was actually a Rampage 6 Apex listed on eBay as 4 parts not working for 100 quid. And to me, 100 quid was just way too much for a dead motherboard. Like, yeah, it's a Rampage 6 Apex, but you can get a working one for almost like for around 200 quid. So I was just like, yeah, I'm not buying that. But when I saw that, and so, what I'm wondering is like, what if this is that 100-pound Rampage 6 Apex that I kept skipping over, and somebody picked it up, reflowed the chipset because they don't know shit about repairing things, and then it ended up and then when it obviously didn't start working because there was still the short circuit in the VRM, they decided to flip it on eBay. Which is how I ended up with it. Like that's one thing I'm kind of wondering, and it's just like that would make me super salty. If this is that Rampage, that would make me super salty because it's just like I should have picked it up for 100 quid, and then I would have had a much better chance of actually repairing it. Because yeah, basically the things that have been going on ever since I fixed the short circuit in the VRM. There's no more short circuit in the VRM because the shorted power stage is gone. So, and the VRM can actually run in this kind of configuration. Like this should be able to turn on and run. Like it's not optimal, but it should function. Which is also in the process. I slightly melted the 8-pin power connector, as you can see there, but yeah. Didn't quite have the foil flush up against the board, so a bit of the hot air got under there, but it's not really a big deal. You can still plug that 8-pin in just fine. But I cleared the short, and when I started trying to run the board, what I noticed was in the rear I/O section, with just the 24-pin plugged in and 5-volt standby power, so, if you switch on your power supply, you get 5-volt standby power, which is what, like, lights up all your LEDs and that kind of thing. So, with just 5-volt standby power, there was... I'm not going to touch that area, there's a bunch of flux there, so we need an implement of pointing. Well, it's not like I can cause any more damage. We'll use a screwdriver. So, this right over here was getting really hot. So I figured, okay, I guess that's shorted out. Let's remove it. This was also getting kind of hot, but not really hot. But anyway, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself here. So that was getting really hot. I removed it. After removing it, I was able to actually get the board to turn on. As in, because before removing that chip, pressing the power button, and we need to zoom out. So before removing that chip, pressing the power button wouldn't do anything. After I removed that chip, you could press the power button and the board would actually try to power on. And that's when the smoke came out of the linear regulator hiding over here, which, as far as I can tell, was generating 3.3 volts for the V-Core VRM, so, and probably for some other things. But anyway, so that chip smoked out, so I removed it. Um, so that was great. So that died. After that, you know, like this chip was still getting really hot, so I removed that as well. Um, and then I kept trying to like power on the board and just seeing like why, like trying to figure out where is causing it to not turn on. In the process, I discovered that this chip, which this one doesn't even have like a big ground pad, but this chip over here was getting really hot, so I removed that as well because probably shorted. Anyway, but while trying to figure out, because the thing is, I kept noticing like this area of the board was still getting kind of hot, and I was like, why is it still getting hot? And then I found that chip on the back there, and so I got rid of that. Also, I tried feeding current into the output of where the exploded LDO was to try figure out where the short circuit was. Um, so anyway, while I was doing that, and I was using the ample for that, so the ample was just feeding current into that, so I could try find the short circuit, same way that I found the short circuit on that power stage. And yeah, while I was doing that, this chip down here smoked out, and you know, that was great. So there's a short circuit over here. I don't know what this is for, but that's shorted out. But it gets better because not only that, we also have a short circuit from this inductor over here, which I'm pretty sure is some kind of buck regulator for powering the chipset or something in this chipset area. And that chip is, I mean, that inductor, very shorted. And actually, I could use this hole right here, right? So that is an M.2 SSD standoff. That's very shorted as well. That's probably not even trying to turn on because it might have I assume that has overcurrent protection, which is why it hasn't managed to smoke out yet. So that doesn't even turn on. And it's just like, yeah, I wonder, like, and the thing is, like, another concerning thing, and let's see if the board catches fire again, at this point. Because, like, it's been continuously putting out smoke every time I tried to turn it on, but anyway, like, I don't think it'll do anything right now at this point. Plug it in. Gonna turn on the power supply. Okay, so we get the yellow LED over there. But anyway, one of the things that, like, was really concerning to me when I was working on this board is, like, the BIOS switch doesn't work. That was the thing, like the whole rear I/O section of the board being on fire, like getting really hot for no reason. That was concerning, but more concerning to me was like, why doesn't? Because I was thinking, okay, maybe there's just some damage in the rear I/O. We can remove that. The BIOS chip not working is like, is the chipset dead? Because I'm pretty sure the functionality of this is related to the chipset somehow, and it's just like, oh no. And yeah, so, you know, as the board, and the thing is, the failures were cascading sort of from the rear I/O towards the chipset, and I was like, because, like, this was the last chip that smoked out, and that was the point where I was like, I wonder if this is, like, if the chipset is, like, gone. Which is what led me to finally take off the heatsink of the chipset, and that's when I noticed that because you see those O-rings, like, they're supposed to look like this. Right, and the board's not getting hot anymore, so that's good. But yeah, they're supposed to look like that. Not like this. Right, like this is melted. This is a healthy O-ring. This is somebody trying to BGA the chipset with their hot air gun. So that's, yeah, like, I'm not fixing it. Like, for all like, that chipset's probably toast. And that's why everything else on the board just keeps going, because the most expensive part of the board is gone. So, anyway, let's power it all. Actually, you know what? Let's try turn it on. I've not tried turning it on since I've taken off this chip over here. I don't have high expectations, but we might get another round of smoke again. Also, you'll notice I'm plugging in that 8-pin because, yeah, this isn't shorted anymore. It doesn't turn on, though, because that IR35201 isn't getting any power. And I kind of don't want to... screw it. Yeah. So, no more shorts. But also, very much no worky at all. Alright, BIOS switch doesn't work. I'm trying to feel if there's like any heat coming off anywhere off of the board, but the thing is, I think the chipset's just gone. And if the chipset's gone, I'm not fixing it. Because it's just like, oh man. Because the thing is, like, I've been pulling other parts of the board off constantly right now, and it's just like, man, I'm so disappointed. I'm super, super disappointed. Because, like, I refuse to believe that both the VRM shorted out and the chipset died at the same time. I refuse to believe that. I think the VRM exploded, and then somebody tried to repair the board by reflowing the chipset, which was stupid because the chipset was never the problem, and so the board is still dead. Well, and now the board is even like more damaged than it started, which is just like, yeah, that's really disappointing. And the thing is, this isn't even like a good board for salvaging parts off of. Not really, I don't think. I mean, I guess I can steal all the multi-layer ceramic capacitors. It's like, that's easy to do, so those are easy to steal. But yeah, like looking around, it's just like, what is there to take off of a board like this? I guess I have a free supply of international, like ASP 1405 voltage controllers now. So I guess I have some spare parts for Asus boards. If I get another Apex and... Well, the thing is just like, if I get another Apex... Well, actually, yeah, if I get another dead Apex with a dead VRM, I have a bunch of spare power stages now. So that's great. Though, here's the thing is, though, if you have a VRM where a power stage exploded, there's a pretty good chance that the rest of them are about to die anyway. So, yeah, as much as I'm like, oh, it'll just be spare parts, like, for all I know, most of these power stages are just as gone as that one. I wonder which of these power stages is actually like, I'd assume either this one, like one of the two outer ones is probably in the best condition, and the middle ones are probably the most degraded just because they're the ones that'll get hottest when the VRM is running. So yeah, those two outer ones are probably the healthiest power stages in there, but yeah. Man, I'm so annoyed because I was super excited. I was like, "Yay, I get a board with the shorted VRM. This is easy. We clear the short, board starts working. Bam, 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 done." And then somebody reflowed the freaking chipset. Like, this is why I don't like to recommend the whole, like, put your GPU in an oven thing. Because, like, motherboards, to be fair, are, like, even worse, in my opinion, to put into an oven. Because they're just, like GPUs, there's not that many things that can fail on them. Like, you can have like, one of the big silicon pieces can fail, and then you have, like, a couple voltage regulators. They're really not that complicated. But motherboards are a lot more complicated because you've got, like, your USB controllers, networking controllers, you got your VRMs, you got your PCIe switches, you got your clock gens, which actually you have clock gens on GPUs as well, but I've never actually seen one of those fail, so... or at least never heard of one of those failing, but like and then you have your other voltage regulators and more voltage regulators, and there's a bajillion, linear regulators scattered around the board for supporting voltages for the chipset, supporting voltages for the VRM, supporting voltages for the USB stuff, for the Wi-Fi, for the everything, right? And it's just like, so motherboards is just like, I generally avoid dead motherboards because it's just like repairing these is way harder than GPUs. Because on GPUs, it's like either you have a silicon problem or one of the main power rails isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing. And if one of the main power rails isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing, well, there's easy ways to fix that. You can just replace the VR, like you can just e-power it and bye-bye, problem. But with a board like this, it's just... And well, sometimes you'll get a GPU where the VRM is dead and the GPU core as well is dead, but that's still easier to troubleshoot than a motherboard where it's just like, so I fixed the short circuit in the VRM, and then the rear IOX section starts going up in flames. There was no actual flames, just smoke, but you get the idea. And then progressively the trail of smoke starts heading towards the chipset, and that's when I'm like, oh no, why? So yeah, that's it. I can still use the board for a PCB breakdown, man. So I'll still do that because it is a board worthy of a PCB breakdown, and like, I'm kind of annoyed that now it's missing a bunch of parts, but it really doesn't matter that much that it's missing a bunch of parts. Like it doesn't make like it's only missing like a couple capacitors. Because the thing is, like theoretically, I could do PCB breakdowns of like the board view of a motherboard. I don't need like if we stripped down the PCB to nothing, I could still do a PCB breakdown, though it would be hard to talk about like capacitor specs and that kind of thing. As well as like which specific voltage controller is being used if you just have the blank pad for it. But yeah. Also, this being an Apex board, I doubt Asus made that many of them, which just makes me even more annoyed. Like a lot of the Apex boards are made in like a couple thousand units, which like that's still a lot of boards, but it's just like there's other motherboards that are made in like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of units. And so it's just like, yeah, I would really prefer if I'd been able to fix this. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, leave any comments, questions, suggestions down in the comment section below. If you'd like to support what I do here with actually hardcore overclocking, I have a Patreon. There's a link to that down in the description below. That's how I afford all the dead motherboards and GPUs. And stuff. And then there's also the AHOC Teespring store where you can pick up shirts, stickers, posters, the usual YouTuber merch. And that serves the same purpose as the Patreon. It really helps a lot with, like both of them help a lot with running the channel. So yeah, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching and goodbye.